Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Room, the podcast brought to you by LFC Transfer Room. I'm Ritchie, I'll be one of your co-hosts today, and I'm joined by YouTube sensation Matty Orm. How are you, Matty?
I'm good. Just beat the Ev, haven't we, a few days ago, so that's always positive. And we beat United as well since we last all spoke, so it's been a good few weeks for the Reds.
It has, and Lord Divock put another stamp on his cult hero status by knocking in the winner against Wolves as well, which put a smile on our faces. And podcast extraordinaire, Daz O'Connor, my other co-host, how are you?
2 words, Divock Origi.
and statue.
Yeah. I don't care if it's made out of pots and pans. Just make one.
Just as everyone knows.
I really enjoyed Andy Robertson's comment saying, I can't wait to take my kids to Anfield and they can see a Divock Origi statue.
Should happen, really.
Did you hear Peter Crouch as well?
No.
He said he should have called his first child Divock.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's phenomenal. He's actually in the transfer roundup, so we'll get on to Divock Origi in a moment. But yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks for the Reds. We obviously had that setback against West Ham, but West Ham have certainly showed that they're no pushovers. They did exactly the same to Chelsea at the weekend and did us a massive favour as well. We went top of the league for a few hours anyway. So yeah, you know, apart from the setback against West Ham, the Reds have been on a roll and, you know, long may it continue. We've got a tricky one against AC Milan, and it's tricky because it's a bit of a dead rubber. I think really, hopefully, you know, a lot of them will be rested because there isn't anything to play for. And I don't know whether, you know, our listeners have played sport at an elite level. If there's nothing to play for, you certainly don't give 100%. So you'd think that it would be the players with something to prove that will perhaps go out and try their very best against Milan. The likes of Minamino, Neco Williams, Tsimikas, who's been on great form, should get a run in. Konate, Phillips perhaps as well. Tyler Morton, I've been really impressed with Tyler Morton.
Yeah, I have myself. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I do think he probably will be the next one to break through into the first team. In recent years, obviously, we've seen Trent and Curtis. I'm not going to count Harvey Elliott in that because he pretty much came towards the end of his academy days. And then I do think Tyler Morton's probably going to be the next one that we see out of the pool, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think Morton will start. I do. Alongside him, I have no clue.
I mean, you'd like to think that Ox would be given a go. He's been good, I would say, when he's played this season. So you'd think that Ox would be one as well. And I suppose it depends what formation you go to as well, because Minamino, I suppose, could play in that 10 role if you're going to play Origi up top on his own. But yeah, it'll be an interesting selection. I always like these games because they are same as the League Cup games. I actually look forward to them because there's no pressure and there's a chance for players who we don't see that often actually get to strut their stuff. So yeah, looking forward to it this week. So on to our transfer roundup. And there's a few stories that have been doing the rounds. Liverpool could make a move for Manchester City winger Raheem Sterling in January, according to journalist Emmett Gates. In a recent interview, Luis Diaz, who played obviously at Anfield not so long ago for Porto, his agent has spoken out about the high-profile clubs being linked with his player this January, and obviously one of those clubs are our very own Liverpool Football Club. Pipa Sierra, a reliable journalist, is the person who is reporting that news. A bit of a surprise one, Liverpool are set to make a move for Ireland international Gavin Bazunu, who plays for Portsmouth, but he's on loan from Manchester City. The 19-year-old is apparently having doubts about his long-term future at the Etihad, with Ederson and Zach Steffen above him in the pecking order. His contract does run out, though, in June 2024, so there might be a bit of a fee on that one, and you'd think that City wouldn't really want to sell to us as well. And that's from the Sunday Mirror. The penultimate one is that Liverpool have been tipped to sign Wolves speed merchant and Spanish international Adama Traore in January, who always seems to be linked to Adama Traore. Former England international Kevin Phillips was speaking to Football Insider, and he thinks a fee of around 20 million would be good for all parties. And finally, on to Lord Divock. Peter O'Rourke has told Give Me Sport that the Hammers, West Ham, have a long-term interest in Divock Origi. He emerged as a target for David Moyes' West Ham side, and it's actually been revealed they tried to sign him last summer too as a replacement for Sebastian Haller. Anything in there, chaps, that take your fancy? Anything in there that you think might have some legs?
I think Divock going might have some legs.
Not in January, though.
I don't know, you know, just with Klopp's comments after the game, he sort of said that he said a similar comment about Nat Phillips as well, about how he is unlucky because of how good our front three is, and he can't get into the team. And he had signed Divock for if he had any other team, and Divock sort of thing, and we can't keep him around forever. It was very similar comments to what he made about Nat Phillips, and I do think that he maybe might go. There's been a few rumours today that Raphinha is pretty much a done deal at the end of the year, so I do think that maybe he might go. But yeah, January would be hard, wouldn't it, with the AFCON? But I wouldn't say the Hammers. I was thinking more Newcastle might have went for him, to be honest.
I suppose they've got Wilson and some Maximum up top, haven't they? So they're not in dire need, to be fair, of a striker. They're in dire need of like some defenders. So Nat Phillips would be a good shout to go to Newcastle because they're in need of some defenders to keep them up. James Tarkowski has obviously been rumoured because his contract's up in the summer. But obviously Burnley will want to keep hold of him because they're relegation bound as well. So yeah, I mean, what about the Gavin Bazunu one? Because obviously we've got Quivine Kelleher, and he's actually keeping Kelleher out of the Ireland team at the moment as well. So Kelleher will be sick of the sight of him, I'm sure. But I can't see City wanting to sell, considering his contract's up in 2024.
I don't think we'd get with Queeve. Every time he's been called upon, he hasn't put a foot wrong. So I don't understand why we'd go and get another keeper. We're trying to offload Karius. So why would you then need another keeper? We've got Marcel Peter Luger as well coming through the youth ranks, who looks like an exciting prospect. And I do think the Brazilian goalkeeping coach coming in is to help with his development as well. I have seen that rumour so much though, and usually when you see that rumour so much, it usually means there's legs to it. It'd be interesting really if we did get him, what Queeve would think, because obviously if he's keeping him out of the national setup, then he's probably going to take over his role in the pecking order at Liverpool if he's better than him. So it's an interesting one, really.
Yeah, I can't see it happening though. I just can't. I mean, Klopp has put his faith in Kelleher, so Kelleher number 2 going forward. So yeah, why would we need another one? I would think Adrian's leaving right at the end of the season.
Yeah,
I would think so. And Karius hopefully in January. Well, I don't understand that either. Why don't they just rip up that contract with Karius and just say, thanks a lot, let him go, because obviously, but there's no suitors. Nobody really wants him. So just
they're certainly not. They're not going to get a transfer fee for them, are they? They're not going to get a transfer fee for them. So let him go at this point, I suppose. And we know that Kelleher's in ahead of him as well. So I agree with you, Daz, as well. I don't think it's fair on anybody really to keep him at the club. To be fair, I mean, we always seem to be as well like linked with Traore, but we've been recently linked last summer to Luis Diaz. I thought he was a bit of a spark really for Porto in both games that Liverpool obviously did really well against. He was really one of the only bright sparks who came through that Porto side for me.
I really liked him. Really liked him. I thought he was absolutely exceptional for Porto. They've not got the best of teams. We sort of knew we'd walk all over them in the games we had against them, but he did stand out. Now, for a player to come to Anfield and stand out, that they're decent. But then saying that, Takumi Minamino come to Anfield and stood out massively. And to be fair to him, though, he's actually done all right this season. But if it was my choice, I think I'd go for Diaz over Adama, because we've seen Adama in the Prem so often over the past few years. He is very, very fast, very, very strong. He's got no end product.
Yeah, that's it. He's just big and fast. I had a conversation actually yesterday. Somebody was like, we need to go in for him. And the lad was like, he could be the next Trent. I was like, what? I don't understand where you're coming from with that. He put in a couple of crosses against us, but again, no way near Trent. I mean, even Klopp couldn't make Adama anywhere near Trent. So just his end product is crap. I mean, it just is. He's just fast. He's big and fast. He's great to watch running, and that's about it. I don't think he's Liverpool material. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree.
And plus, I don't think Wolves would sell him for 20.
No, that's the thing that stood out for me.
Didn't they want 40 odd the other year when we wanted them?
Yeah, and then we went for Jota instead, and that obviously worked out extremely well because he's been absolutely on fire this season. And Firmino started the campaign absolutely fantastically, and people have almost forgotten about Firmino now because Jota's that, you know, in that 9 role, but he plays a different 9 role than what Firmino does. He doesn't drop as deep. He seems to actually press more often than Firmino. But he's just so lethal, isn't he? I mean, the finish that was against Everton, the roof of the net, you watch it so many times and there's not too many places he could have put it apart from the roof of the net, and he did. The turn, everything was just so crisp, and he's just lethal. He's only going to get better. It's scary, actually, how good he's going to be if he can keep fit at so young under Klopp. He could very well be, you know, one of the best Liverpool strikers if he can continue in this game, in this run of form.
That goal against Everton, it's probably one of the best goals I've seen. Genuinely, it was the turn. I think it'll get overlooked at how good that finish was until you watch it back again and again and again. Like, it was unbelievable. Like, an unbelievable goal. Could even be goal of the season, but probably won't be because it'll be like a 40-yard screamer from someone. But like you said, that turn, the touch, the finish, it was all inch perfect, and it had to be inch perfect in order for it to have gone in. And everything about it was perfect. And as much as we all give Jordan Pickford stick, we've got to not forget he actually is an all right goalkeeper. So, and he made him look average with that finish. So that shows the quality of the finish, really.
Yeah, that angle was insane. I didn't even think he could you know, get it off. And yeah, 'cause there's actually one where it's filmed from behind the goal, and it looks even tighter. It's like, and it nearly took little man's arms off, didn't it? He tried. But yeah, no, I love Jota, and I'm actually looking forward to like seeing Jota and Bobby in January. That's if AFCON actually, you know, still goes ahead. But I'm curious to see how those two work together, and probably Minamino.
Do you think with AFCON we'll go to like a 4-1-2-1-2, and that's why Klopp's not as worried about attacking options, because we could just start Jota and Bobby up front?
I think as well with AFCON, you know, it's been circulated quite a lot in the news, and Klopp's been quite open about, you know, AFCON, but maybe perhaps too open when reporters don't quite get sarcasm with his comments being made. And the Senegalese manager today has obviously hit out at Klopp, not understanding he was perhaps being sarcastic about, you know, the African Cup of Nations being little. But by the by of that, Klopp seems to be in negotiations, and the club seems to be in negotiations that actually we can release Salah and Mane in particular after the Chelsea game. So they'd only actually missed the Brentford and Crystal Palace game. So I think that's, again, another reason why perhaps Klopp isn't sweating as much as what, you know, we fans are, because behind the scenes, you would fancy our chances against Brentford and Crystal Palace, and no disrespect to them at all. But I just think Jota, Firmino and Minamino, Origi you've got in there as well. You know, I think that if you're going to miss 2 games, you know, they're not too bad games to miss. And all of the talk about we have to sign somebody for what? For 2 games? You know, we absolutely don't have to sign somebody. Not when you've got a front 4 like that with Origi and Minamino waiting in the wings, who always do well when they come on as well.
I think we'll miss Mane more than Salah, in the aspect of, I don't think Salah will be gone that long, because I can't see Egypt getting as far as Senegal. I do think Senegal could potentially go the whole way. So you'd probably have Mane out longer. But then, like you've said, Jota can play on the left, then Bobby down the middle, and problem solved. If it is only 2 games, you'd argue that if we faced them 2 teams in a cup run, we'd start the lesser of the 3 anyway. So we're not really that short. And obviously Bobby will be back. Harvey Elliott should be back as well in January. Curtis Jones will be back. So then that bolsters up your midfield. So then allow, like say, Bobby and Jota up front with maybe Harvey Elliott as the 10 if you switch the formation a bit for 2 games. So I'm not that worried, really. But I do think we will sign someone in January. But I think it'll be more of a midfielder than an attacking option, and everyone's going to lose their mind because it's not an attacker.
Yeah, and also it feels like, I know that we've been slightly looking at that midfield, but actually we have got a lot of midfielders. You know, we've got so many midfielders. It doesn't feel like we do need a midfielder. But again, you know, the January transfer window is always a strange one, isn't it? Unless there's a bargain, there's no point really in dipping into it, because clubs aren't going to want to sell halfway through. You're going to pay a premium to sign anyone. I would like to see, though, Firmino and Jota up top. But I'd like to see Minamino as the 10.
Yeah. He's been good, Annie, when he's come on, to be fair to him. He's looked lively. He's made a few tidy finishes as well. He's finally got the burden of his Anfield goal off his back. He got that the other week. I think he's been all right. Good backup. And maybe this is the chance he needs with Mane and Salah. I mean, I'm not saying he's ever going to dislodge them out the team, but he does need a chance of a run of games, and he's going to get it with them going to the AFCON. So even Origi, he probably deserves a chance of a run of games, to be honest with you. And maybe he seizes his opportunity as well. And then who knows? We might get Salah and Mane might come back. We might have won every fixture like 4 or 5-0, like we have been the past few weeks, and it's just not a problem now.
We've just been drawn Shrewsbury at home in the FA Cup as well, so that's a nice draw, for the lads as well. So, I don't think it's a massive...
game. Before COVID, we played the kids.
Yeah,
it was a tough game at Anfield. I remember being there, thinking, we might not get through here, because we played all the kids. So, but I do like the mix at the minute, and to be honest with you, I fancy Liverpool to win a few cups this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why not? I'd like to get back to Wembley, like we talked a month or two ago. Get back to Wembley, win a domestic cup. I mean, apart from the league, I'd like the FA Cup, but League Cup's all right with me. Trophy's a trophy. But yeah, I mean, when will we know, like 100%, if Salah and Mane and Keita are actually going to be able to leave later?
Well, I mean, it would have to be extremely soon, because originally I think it was after the Boxing Day fixture at Leeds. So it would have to be.
I'll do, because many African countries are on our red list.
Yeah.
So they may not be able to travel there because they play in the Premier League.
I think they can travel there, but it'll be getting back, which is an issue, it seems. So it will be like isolation, or because they're elite athletes. I don't know whether the laws around the elite athletes are still the same. Whereas if they're in the bubble, then they're okay to come back as long as they do PCR tests, etc. A bit like, obviously with Ali and Fabi, when they went over straight to Madrid for the Champions League game. So I would expect it to be something similar like that. I mean, we don't even know that the AFCON could be suspended again, before then, but hopefully not. I mean, Matty, you said something really interesting earlier about Raphinha. Do you want to go in a little bit more on that? Because this is, since we've been doing this podcast, all of us have been banging on about Raphinha. I would love one player from the Premier League who I would pick to play for us right now. Anybody, I would pick Raphinha.
I seen something on Twitter the other day saying that apparently the Raphinha deal is pretty much done. It's going to be all agreed in January, but he's not coming till the end of the season. Now, my missus's family are all Leeds fans, so I went and done some research by asking them, and I said, what do you think on Raphinha? And they've heard of a lot more their end than what I've heard Liverpool end. They've pretty much accepted the fact Raphinha is leaving in the summer, and they said he's definitely going. They all think they're going to get relegated this year, but he said that there definitely is going, and all they've heard is Liverpool's name. So, and then I've seen a few tweets today, not from the most reliable of journalists on Twitter. One of them was that Ivan Schwackhoff, who's terrible, but they're all saying the same stuff, that Raphinha is going to be at Liverpool by the end of the season, but it's going to be wrapped up in January. So I don't know how true it is, but I do think that it's very, very likely, just with the Leeds fans themselves saying that all they've heard is that he's going to Liverpool. I think it's likely.
You heard it here first from Matty's wife, Mrs. family. It's common.
No, but for them to say, like, even like when I remember we done a video with the Leeds YouTube channel a few months ago, and they said that they hadn't seen anything about Raphinha, but now, and I asked her family like last summer when the window was open, and they said no chance he's going to be at Leeds for at least another season. But now they all seem set that he actually is going to Liverpool. And it does feel like it's a bit of the worst kept secret. It feels a bit like Van Dijk, doesn't it? Where everyone knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when. Now, Leeds haven't had the best of seasons this year, and I can see them potentially maybe going down. And I think if they go down, Raphinha is 100% going to come. And with how much Klopp admires, and when Klopp wants somebody, Klopp gets somebody.
Yeah, if Liverpool come knocking and you're battling relegation, you're not going to turn that down. And you know what? Even if he's worth 60 million and Leeds slap a 60 million price tag on him, I think he's worth it. He's young enough. Him and Jota can lead that front line with let's say Salah, because Salah looks like he can go for another 4 years as well. You know, that's the future of Liverpool. We always talk about Klopp version 2, the attack version 2. This is it. Raphinha would be one of my picks in world football. You know, realistic picks as well.
When you look at his stats as well, what I've been looking at when I look at any target for Liverpool is the pressing stats. That's what we bought Jota based on, and Raphinha's is high, very high. And there's been comments of Klopp admiring him before and stuff like that. So I think he'll come. I do think he'll come. But I think if he does come, does that mean Salah's then going to play more down the middle? Because he does seem to play more on the right for Leeds, doesn't he? So if Salah's going down the middle and Jota down the left, it is going to be interesting to see what happens. But I do think it probably will happen. And I don't think Bielsa will stay at Leeds past this season as well. A few Leeds fans have said that. So I think if Bielsa goes, then that's the pull of Leeds for me is working under Bielsa. So if you remove that, why would any of them stay?
I like Phillips.
Yeah, I don't think we've got any chance of getting him. I love him.
I know. I think he'd be a great successor to Hendo. But, you know, he wants to play first team football, so he's not going to come to Liverpool and just.
We have been linked to him. We have been linked to him in the past few weeks, Calvin Phillips. But I think I'll be really annoyed if we buy Calvin Phillips over Jude Bellingham.
Yeah, there's not going to be too much of a difference, I don't think, on price tag. I know Dortmund slapped 100 million on Bellingham. I still think they're not going to get 100 million. They'll probably get closer to 80, and I think Phillips will probably be 60. So yeah, if you're going to pay an extra 20 million, I'd rather us go out full for Bellingham. But we've just spoken about 2 60 million signings. Liverpool aren't going to do that unless people go out, you know. So there's not a massive need, I don't think, for midfielders. I think there is.
Eddie Howe is back in the Prem now, Ritchie. So we could maybe sell Nat Phillips to Newcastle for 40 million.
Very true. Yeah, very true. I think it will probably be more likely that Calvin Phillips would end up at Newcastle, though, if they survive and Leeds go down.
I don't think Newcastle will survive.
Nah.
Do you not? I think they will.
I'd like to see them survive because I'd like to see what they do with all this money. But then it makes me think, if they go down, what player are they going to sign who's going to go and play in the Championship? They've got all this money. But to get who's going to want to go and play, like they're being linked to players like Coutinho and stuff now. Now Coutinho's not going to Newcastle if they're in the Championship, so and they've took them so long to get back up. But I like Eddie Howe. I just don't think. I think the damage was already done prior to Eddie Howe coming in, and then obviously we've seen Norwich pick up some form under Dean Smith. We've seen Aston Villa get some results under the belt under Stevie as well. Watford, they've caused a few upsets this year, so I think Newcastle are. I think who will go down this year will be very surprising. I wouldn't rule out Burnley, wouldn't rule out Newcastle. I think I'd either like to maybe see a few of the teams we've seen in the Prem for years go down and there be a fresh bunch come up, because I'm sick and tired of all these yo-yo clubs.
I think for me, Norwich have gone. I personally think, and then it's going to be a straight shootout, I think, between 4 of them. I think Burnley have escaped too often. They are in real danger. I think Watford have got a few injury problems. I think once they've got past those injury problems, though, they should be okay. Emmanuel Dennis has been on fire this season.
He's overshadowed Sarr, and Sarr's unbelievable. And then Foster as well.
Yeah.
As the age of him, he's been phenomenal for Watford this season.
Yeah.
They can go down, though. I think Newcastle will go down, though, just because they're crap, and I just don't see I mean, it could go either 2 ways in January for them. They could just, buy a bunch of players that don't really play as a team anyway, because you just haven't had time, or they just don't really buy anyone, and just wait. I think Eddie Howe's just a middleman anyway.
Yeah.
2-3 years at the most.
Do you not think that Nat Phillips might go to Newcastle, though? Because with Klopp's also confirmed he's going in January. And Eddie Howe might look at him and think, well, he done a job for Liverpool and got them in the Champions League. And I think he'd be a fantastic signing for Newcastle. And we probably could demand, because, you've got Newcastle's got money, you could probably get 25, 30 million for Nat Phillips off Newcastle. Mm-hmm. Which is half of the Bellingham.
You take Karius as well.
He's better than
Dubravka. I quite like Dubravka. I think he's far more reliable than Karius. I mean, it's going to be so interesting with Newcastle at the bottom end of the table, but obviously our focus is at the top end, and we're sitting very, very pretty in second place, a point behind City as well. we've played as well. If you think about it, we've played. I know we're 14 in now, but we played City and Chelsea very early on in the season. It felt like, yes, there were 2 draws, perhaps 2 draws that should have been wins, but it's not going to be a season. I generally think it's not going to be a season where 95 points wins it. I think it's going to be less than that, especially with an AFCON, especially, with a backlog of, football being played. And Chelsea and City are going to be in exactly the same competitions as Liverpool. They're going to have to rotate. We've seen Chelsea have got big injury problems at the moment as well, again, which is why they drop points perhaps at West Ham. So City still lack a striker for me. I just think it's not going to be a runaway season. I certainly hope not anyway. I hope it is us 3 until the very last day of the season and Divock Origi gets the winner and we lift the league.
I was worried about Chelsea because I didn't think they would slip up. And I remember after the Southampton game, walking back to the car, I said to me mates, like, I don't think Chelsea will fall. They've been so solid, so good defensively up until that point. I think they'd only conceded 5 goals all season up until they get to when we played Southampton. So that was game week 12, I think, which is just scary numbers. And then when I seen the Watford, was it Watford who'd done them?
No, Watford. They just scraped through against Watford.
Yeah, who was it who'd done them the other day?
West Ham.
West Ham. And before the game, I thought West Ham, if anyone's going to do them, West Ham could do them because they done us. But I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. And that's done us a massive favour. I'm not worried about City at all this year because I do believe that City will get Harry Kane, but I don't think it'll be in January because I think Conte is going to be given a budget to go a bit mad and that might sway Kane. And I think City will probably hold out and get Harry Kane. So I'm not really worried about them going forward. I'm more worried about Chelsea and the fact we're now above them again. I don't think Liverpool will slip up.
I can see Manchester City signing Haaland in January, but obviously for the summer because his release clause is 64 million in January, and I think City will throw a kitchen sink at it because he's their striker for the next 10 years and he's going to be a world-class striker. I can't see Harry Kane getting a move anymore unless he's going to go to Manchester United, who might throw some money, at it and see what happens. But for me, I think Haaland to City, and if that's the case, then I think we should be a little bit more
worried if he goes there. But interesting because he's on Monday Night Football tonight. And why is he in England? That's what I
don't know if he is. I think that was Carragher. Yeah. It's not. I think Carragher was ribbing. I don't think he's on it.
Because I seen it and thought he's definitely over here for something. But
I think it was a rib. I'm not 100% sure because I've not got it on, but I don't think it was true. I think it was a rib.
With City though, will Pep, do you reckon, go all out for Haaland when he actually is on? He's leaving at the end of next season. I think I honestly believe if they don't win the Premier League or Champions League this year, Pep could go this year.
Mm-hmm. I think if he gets Haaland sorted in January, he's definitely staying next year because if one man's going to win you the Champions League, it's Erling Haaland.
Yeah. I think Liverpool win the Champions League this year.
I can see it. I can see it happening. 100% cup competition. I think it's more likely we win the Champions League than the Premier League, if I'm honest. It feels like, that 2019 season again.
We just look stupidly good in the Champions League and the League Cup. I fancy us for that now. City are out. I think Liverpool could go on and win that. I just want a trip to Wembley, and then I want to win the FA Cup, like what Daz said before. But I want to win it for Hendo. If Hendo wins the FA Cup, he has won everything in Wales, in England, at Liverpool. So I'd love to win the FA Cup, and we haven't won it since 2006, which is stupidly.
Yeah, the Gerrard final.
Yeah, we need another one.
Exactly. I agree. But on that note of Steven Gerrard, we have got Villa coming up very quickly. We'll talk very, very quickly. Steven Gerrard's been absolutely fantastic. I think it's been a revelation. I hope it's not just that new manager bounce. His Villa team look organised. They look aggressive. They look inexorable. I hope that it does continue. Maybe not at Anfield this Saturday, but Gerrard has looked the real deal. And I think, it's only 4 games, so let's definitely not get carried away. But he does look like he's, a manager that in his generation, he probably is the most talented. If we're talking about footballers from that generation coming through to actually manage, he looks like he's certainly improving and he looks like he's got the stuff.
I'm not surprised. A lot of people were saying the Premier League's a big test for him. You've got to have some talent behind you as a manager to go a full season unbeaten. he's done what only Arsenal's done in the Premier League up in Scotland. I mean, I know Scotland has got a completely different calibre to the Premier League, but to go a full season without losing it takes some going. It really does take some going. So I'm not surprised that Gerrard's coming in at the ground running. He's got a good squad at Villa. He's only going to add to it. I do think you might see him bring some players in this January from Rangers, like Ryan Kent and stuff like that. Maybe even James Tavernier. He did because Villa probably do need a defender. I'd like to see Ryan Kent come back because then we get a chunk of change as well. And I think he'll do well in the Prem. But if anything, the past, I know it's only 4 games in, it sort of made me quite excited to see what he does when he comes to Liverpool, because we can't kid him. He is 100% going to be the Liverpool manager one day. His contract runs out the same day as Jurgen Klopp. It's like the worst kept secret in football. But he's stamped his philosophy on Aston Villa, and they're playing a completely different way to what he was under Dean Smith in just 4 games. So I think it goes to show how much players actually respect him, and rightfully so. He was arguably one of the greatest players of our generation. But I do think we batter them next week.
All bets are off on Saturday. Anfield are going to give him a nice, ovation when he comes out. Then that's it. All bets are off.
As it should be.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think we're going to be singing Steven Gerrard songs for 90 minutes. Obviously, if they start winning, it'll shut up. But I do think if we're winning, I think we'll be singing Gerrard, because we haven't. I know we still sing them sometimes. We haven't had a proper good Anfield sing song about Stevie G, and he's going to get a fantastic reception, rightfully so.
Yeah,
I don't think they will win us. If they do, it's not going to make me change my opinion on him. He is the greatest footballer I've ever seen play for Liverpool, and he always will be. And he's from Highton, so he gets my respect.
So on that note as well, hopefully we'll be singing in the same vein as we was for Rafa Benitez last week against the Ev. But on that note, thank you all for joining us. And as always, please leave your comments and let us know what you think of the podcast. And please put your opinion in on something that you want us to explore further as well. Okay, but until then, and as of always, thank you so much. And as always, up the Reds.
The Reds.